and the lack of international media and press and the heavy military presence. In 2009, there was a very region-wide strike in Iranian Kurdistan in regards to the 20th anniversary of Dr. Qassemlu's death. And the regime, again, was very active in trying to prevent general strikes, threatening shoppers to not to close, or to threaten people not to go to work. So, but still, people had a general strike in 2009, and it was a very clear indication that yes, there's still a very strong base for demand for national rights, for ethnic rights, but again, people are always able to adapt to the various forms of struggle, and general strikes is being one of them, and we definitely continue to see these things happening in the future as well. But it's one thing that I would like to mention is that despite the fact that that there hasn't been much attention paid to the Kurdish issues or the issues to the ethnic groups' issues, there's also a lot of attention paid by the Iranian government to the ethnic groups. So the attention the rare attention that we get in Iran doesn't really mean that the ethnic groups' issue is not significant and or irrelevant for that matter. The issues of the it really matters, because in 1989, when Qassemlu was assassinated, was because regime really paid very much attention to the fact that the Kurds, as one of the ethnic groups, could become a changing factor, a regime change factor, and they were quite strong as well. But I mean, that was one of the fears, and also the heavy military presence is also another indication that the regime is quite terrified of any activities that can go on in these areas, and as well as the regime pays very high attention and close attention to what's going on in the regions, because the national movements and national opposition groups are quite democratic, and in a way in contrary to what the regime stands for. For example, our party, and there are a lot of parties in the ethnic groups who have formed a coalition for national minorities that are called Congress of Nationality for Federal Iran. This nationality is composed of almost 16, 17 organizations that represent that stand for democracy, human rights, and the ethnic groups' rights, and as well as a form of government for the future Iran that could be inclusive and that could respect the rights of the ethnic groups, and the ethnic groups will have a share and say in the running of the country, and as well as their own region. So coming back to the Green Movement and the stance of the ethnic groups, I briefly mentioned in the beginning that there's always been the need, the desire, and the desire for change, and the movement has always been alive in areas belonging to ethnic groups. But the events of the 2009 and the Green Movement that spurred from out of this showed a few things. First, that people are frustrated again with reform of the regime. People want regime change, something that the ethnic groups have been demanding for decades, and as well that this regime cannot be reformed. So the Green Movement of 2009 also the agreement of 2009 would also failed in many ways, because the Green Movement was not able to garnish or at least get the support of the ethnic groups. Yes, the ethnic groups were overwhelmingly welcomed, and we're happy to see such a movement coming out of the central Iran, because Tehran has rarely seen protests as such. I mean, the events that happened in 2009 and were quite historic in the last 3 decades. So the people, the ethnic groups in Iran were quite happy to see it, but again, the ethnic groups experiencing the 1979 revolution and pretty much welcoming and also being very engaged and bringing about regime change, paying a heavy price for it, were quite skeptical of the fact that this regime could be, if the Green Movement results in regime change, the Green Movement will result in a regime that could respect and include the ethnic groups in the national government. So the ethnic groups, yes, welcomed it. Also, were quite happy to see, but at the same time, they're very reluctant to engage. And there were a lot of reasons for why the ethnic groups did not participate in the countrywide protests that we saw in 2009 following the election. And one of the reasons is obviously the heavy military presence is that if a protester, if there's a protest that goes on in Tehran, if a similar protest happens for example, in a city like Sanandaj or Ahwaz or Tabriz, the crackdown and the would be much more vigorous and harder because of the military presence. So the lawlessness, like still Kurdistan as one of the areas is still under military rule. So somewhat the legal structures and that we see in Tehran, we do not see in Iranian Kurdistan or Iranian Kurdistan, the cities belonging to Iranian Kurdistan. So that having military presence and the violent crackdown of protesters to some extent prevents people from coming to the streets. So people in Iranian Kurdistan are waiting for the right moment. But at the same time, it's the lack of understanding from the Green Movement, especially its leader, that the issues of minorities, is not discussed. And the Green Movement, the only thing the Green Movement is proposing is yes, at the beginning was where's my vote, and then yes, death to Khomeini, death to dictator, regime change, but it never really discussed the issues of ethnic groups and national minorities. That's despite the fact that the people who propose or who are the leaders of the Green Movement within Iran, Mousavi, Karoubi, and who are also have been part of the government for the system for the last 3 decades, they had discussed the issues of ethnic groups in a very small context at the beginning of the election, before the elections, to get the support of the people. But when the protests broke out and there was a very strong message against the government, they rarely spoke and talked about the ethnic groups and their rights within Iran. That was quite unfortunate, and that kind of prevented or somehow made the ethnic groups to remain calm and wait to see if the Green Movement will change its attitudes, and its leader will talk about the ethnic rights and national groups. So this is one of the 2 reasons why they haven't seen protests in Iranian Kurdistan, but we have seen a lot of assistance and support provided by the ethnic groups. Like in the protests in Tehran, there has been many deaths of Kurdish